All right, guys. So I have another expression for us to talk about this morning, and that is this one: bite off more than you can chew. So last week was in the same boat when we're all in it together. But here's an interesting situation. So I don't know about you, but I know with my wife and I being home, my wife works at home anyway. Her home office is here, but this is really the first time we've been together, like working together in the same house, and it's
Okay.
been very, our house is very small, so but when you get in these kinds of situations, you want to maybe clean or some project. So we've been cleaning, the refrigerator, all kinds of things. So, but look at this expression. So it's bite off more than you can chew. So, for example, that means you try to do more than you possibly can do. So usually you start a project and you think, oh, I'm going to do all of these things. And then you realize maybe it's too difficult to finish the project. So if you think about it, you try to eat more than you can. So if you look at my picture over here, notice the guy here is going to fix the living room by himself. So I said, well, I'm trying to fix up the living room by myself, but I'm worried that I bit off more than I could chew, that I took too much of a project, and now there's no way to finish it. So
Okay.
if you see at the bottom of the cartoon, it says the wife is asking him, when does the improvement phase of this home improvement project begin? Because right now it looks like a mess. Yeah, this is me
I
right here.
agree.
Yeah. So what I'd like everybody to think about, so in the chat box, or if you want to use your microphone, so have you or anybody have they started any projects right now that you're not sure you can finish? Have you started something at the house, started something maybe in your garden or something? Is there anything you've tried that you haven't finished? Or what about the opposite? Have you started a project and you finished it because you had time to do it? So I'm gonna stop sharing for just a moment. Let's kind of take a few minutes and talk about some other things that we can do with Burlington English. Now, I know we have a representative from Burlington English who gives me, lots of good information. And right now, on the phone, on the app, for using it on your phone or for using it on the computer, uh, Burlington English is going to be bringing more levels to their program. So I don't know. Some of you may have used the computer program with Miss Cindy, for example, maybe last year or earlier this year. We were using kind of the older Burlington English. So Burlington English is changing. They're bringing more things, new things. So eventually we will have more levels. So right now we kind of have, beginning, basic, beginning, and intermediate, which is what we're practicing with in this course. But eventually they're going to have higher levels. So that's why we want everybody to use Burlington English, because it will continue to add more programs. But one of the things I wanted to show everybody was the vocabulary practice and how you can use the vocabulary practice to help you review the words from each lesson. And then we'll also look at how you can practice vocabulary from some of the other programs with Burlington English. So what I would like to do is, in just a moment, I want everybody to log in, but not now. Instead, I would like to go ahead and take a few minutes and just kind of show you. So I've logged in here to Burlington English on the computer. But if you notice here on the computer, the choices are exactly the same as on your phone or a mobile device. So again, if you've been using the program, you see we've got, the basic level, low beginning, high beginning, and low intermediate. So I'm going to zoom in just a little bit, make it a little easier for us. Okay. So what I would like to do here this morning is just kind of walk you through how you can use the vocabulary part of Burlington. So again, I'm going to click on Burlington Core. Now, my screen is going to look just a little bit different because I'm a teacher, but if you notice, you do have some of the same choices. So for example, you have student lessons, so that's what you've been using. The vocabulary practice, which is what we're going to look at this morning, my portfolio, and then progress. So you have some of the same things. Now, as a teacher, I have some extra things, and I've been using some of these in our lessons. But instead of going to student lessons, we're actually going to go to vocabulary practice. So I'm going to click on that. Okay. Now, again, the phone might look a little different, but here on the computer screen, you can see over on the left side that the different lessons. So for example, lesson 1 is personal information, lesson 2, education, lesson 3, getting a job, and so on. So again, we're practicing with lesson 8, which is housing. Now, again, you can kind of do the vocabulary activity in a couple of different ways. If you want to review all of the words from the lesson, then you can just click on or touch on the screen just the actual level 8, lesson 8 heading, and you will see all of the words listed from the lesson. So here, these are all of the words that you will see practiced in the Burlington English program. So what I want to do here this morning is kind of walk you through how the vocabulary practice works, and then show you how you can do some activities, because we're going to do an activity here in just a moment, just to make sure everybody kind of understands what we're doing. But for example, I'm going to click on the very first word, and again, on the computer screen and on the phone, you should see a little arrow here. So when you click on that, basically the idea is you can look at each word individually. So for example, you can click on and listen to the expression. And again, you do this in the app, but this is nice that you can just practice the expression. So for example, I click on this and you hear across the street. Now, again, I hope you've had a chance to practice with the pronunciation part, but for example, just to demonstrate, I can click on the microphone and I can say the expression. And the question is, will the app or the computer understand me? So let's try it. Across the street. Okay, now notice, okay, maybe I wasn't as clear, maybe I needed to sound it a little louder, but the computer recognized me pretty well. But the idea is, you know, this is a computer, so it's not necessarily like listening to a person. But again, I hope you've had a chance to practice either on the phone, you know, speaking into the speaker, or if you notice here on the computer, I'm using a headset. But if your computer has a microphone, you can do it too. Now, one of the nice things I like about the vocabulary practice is that you can also practice with a whole sentence. So for example, I'm going to play the sample sentence here. Now, in this case, when I click on the microphone, I have to say the whole sentence. So in this case, let's demonstrate, for example, what happens if I make a mistake. Let's see what happens. So for example, if I said, the parking lot is in the street from my house. So if you notice, it says it didn't understand me. So again, if I make mistakes, the question here is, what do I need to do to improve? So let's try it again, and this time I'll maybe make one small mistake. The park across the street from my house. Okay, so I missed one word. I missed the word is. So again, it shows me that it understood most of what I said. So what I want to show you here is that the vocabulary practice, you can practice the word or the expression, and you can also practice the sample sentence. Now, everybody, I think this is something that's going to benefit everyone here. This is something you can do. You're just sitting in your chair, practicing in front of your computer. You can practice this as well. You know, you can practice this at home. And notice you don't necessarily have to go back to the lesson. You can practice the words right here. Now, the other thing I wanted to show you is because everybody has their own account, you can also take specific expressions. So for example, if this expression is one that's difficult for you, or maybe you don't quite remember what it means, if you'll notice down here, it says you can add it to your personal words. Now, I'm going to click on this one for just a moment. So this now is in kind of my personal vocabulary notebook. So in just a moment, I'll show you how you can go back and find those personal words. So the idea is, if you're practicing with the vocabulary, you can go and practice with all of the lessons to go through and just practice with the words, okay? But the idea is, when I add it to my personal words, what can I do with those words? Well, we'll show you next, okay? Now, if you click on, again, on the right side there, it'll just take you to the next expression, the next expression. So again, if this is something you would like to do and kind of practicing with each individual word or expression, you can add that here, or you can go to those words here. Now, if I click on the X button, then you'll notice that I'm back to that original screen with all of the expressions. But if you notice up here, do you see up here on the left side? Let me zoom in. It says personal words only. Does everyone see that? So for example, after you've practiced with all of the words the first time, if I click on personal words only, then the words that I put into my personal list are here. And now I can just practice with those words, especially words that maybe are difficult for me to speak, or perhaps words that, okay, I don't quite remember, what does it mean? I'll put it here in the personal words category. Okay. All right. I'm going to turn that one off for just a moment. Okay. So again, one of the things I wanted to show you here this morning is that you can use the vocabulary practice as a way to review words from a lesson. Or, hey guys, you know, let's say you're not necessarily doing all of the lessons, you can still go through the words. And that's a good way, I think, to keep practicing our vocabulary. So as you know, vocabulary is very important to me. I think vocabulary is the most important thing we can do when we're learning a language. So I think in this case, this is a great way you can go in and practice those words individually. Okay, so that's the first thing I wanted to show you here this morning. Now, the other thing I wanted to show you are, with the vocabulary practice, there actually are some activities that you can do. So it's not just reviewing the words. Now, on the computer, if you look here at the bottom, you'll see the three little lines at the bottom. Now, if you're using the phone, so I'm going to show you here in just a moment. I'm going to bring it up on the camera. It's a little hard to share in the a little hard to share. When I plugged into the my phone into the class last time, the problem is you could see it, but I couldn't. So that was kind of annoying. I had no idea what I was doing. So I'm just going to show you on the camera. Let me type in my login. So again, on the computer, you click on those lines, and then on the phone, let me pull it up here. Let me go back here. Okay, sorry guys, let me get back here. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to turn on my camera for just a moment, just to show everybody. So I'm going to stop sharing for just a moment. So on my camera, it's a little hard to see because the phone kind of drifts in and out. You have the same thing too. You have those three little lines that'll appear here at the bottom. What I'd like to do, guys, again, we're not going to practice with a lot of activities right now, but I want you to do at least one activity. So here's what's going to happen. So I'm going to click on the that little three lines. Now, right now, when you're using the mobile version or the website version, you will notice that some of the activities are available. So for example, here on the screen, you've got memory 1, spelling 1, crossword 1, word search 1, matching columns, and fill in the blank. But if you notice, the next activities are kind of unavailable. They're grayed out. So for example, memory 2, spelling 2, and so on, they're not available to use. Now, when we were given the demonstration of this on March 6th. So that was about a month ago, because that's when all of these things were becoming more available. And guys, we should feel lucky because in Kentucky, we were given access to this before other states were. So in Kentucky, we were kind of lucky here that we got to do that. But what I want to do here right now is I want us to, we're going to log into Burlington English. So what I would like for you to do is I'm going to kind of, again, walk you through the steps. You're going to go into Burlington English, and then you're going to go into courses. Okay, so we're going to do that together. So everybody, what I would like to do now, so everybody, if we can log into Burlington English. Now, if you need help with if you need help with your ID or anything, please let me know. You can send me an email if you like. But if you can log into Burlington English right now, and then we're going to come back to the meeting in just a few minutes. But what I want you to try is I want you to try to find those vocabulary exercises. Anyway, so again, what I'd like to do just real quickly is if you click on those 3 lines, and yeah, choose one of the games, memory, for example, or spelling or something. Now, we don't have to finish the game, but I just want you to click on it to make sure you know how to use it. So I'm going to, on the screen here, I'm going to demonstrate with memory. So here, for example, the idea, just like in a typical memory game, you would click on the card and see if you can find it. So it says, listen to the English word, then match it to the correct word or phrase. So for example, I hear charger, and then over here I have to find the same one. So I'll let, okay, in there. So for example, charger and allowed, those are not the same words. So the idea is if you want to play the memory game for just a moment, just to practice a little bit, I'm going to let you guys just play around just for a couple of minutes, and then we're going to return to the room because, again, we're getting a little close to the end of our time. And so on the app, I just wanted to show everybody. So again, Burlington English began as kind of a different program, and now it's changed, and they're continuing to change it. But for example, on the home screen, you might notice that there is another category of vocabulary practice. And what I wanted to mention, and again, I know I'm looking at the list here, maybe Daniela and Anna, some of you have probably used the older Burlington English program. But for example, in the older Burlington English, they had other programs. So for example, here on the screen, you've got Burlington Basics, which is the program that some of the teachers are using in the basic class. But if you notice, you've got all of these different levels. There's a program called English in America, Everyday English, and then there's one Advanced English. Now, eventually, Burlington English said they're going to bring all of these classes to the mobile platform. So right now, these are not available. The courses are not available, but the vocabulary is available. So what I wanted to show you is, I know some of you have talked about working on maybe improving your career skills. So there are some specific word lists that you can practice with when it comes to particular skills. So for example, I don't know, does anybody here want to be a baseball player? I just wanted to know, any professional baseball players? No. Okay. Well, but anyway, if you wanted to learn some things, the nice thing about a lot of these particular vocabulary practices, you can practice different career paths, and you can practice with their vocabulary. So for example, if I chose restaurant manager, which probably is a terrible time to be a restaurant manager, but if you notice on the screen, and again, you should be able to see these on your phone, you can practice with other vocabulary with these particular levels. Now, again, the problem is the program, the restaurant manager program, is not available right now. But if you want to practice other vocabulary, you can. So I just wanted to click on this one, for example. So here are some words related to safety in a restaurant. So notice a lot of these words. In fact, there's a word right now that everybody probably knows: disposable gloves. Thinking about what's going on right now. But again, these are words that you can also practice with on the app. So yeah, if you guys are, like you said, maybe bored and wanting to do some more English practice, you can use the older vocabulary practice here. So when you come to the screen, when you come to the main screen, instead of going to courses, so don't go to courses, you can also go and practice vocabulary from some of the other Burlington English programs that, yeah, are not available, but you can practice their vocabulary. So yeah, if you wanted to take a look at some of these. And finally, I wanted to mention the career pathways. Now, that is another course that is available. So for example, if I go into courses, some of you have probably noticed there's the general English, and we're using the Burlington Core. So there's low intermediate for a moment. That's what we're using. But here at the bottom, we also have the core career exploration and soft skills. Now, the good news is these are available as courses. So we're not going to look at them today, but I think in the future, I might do some lessons using some of these career exploration modules. And the idea is, I know many of you are thinking, yeah, jobs, and want to improve our job skills and vocabulary. But if you want, what I would recommend is maybe for next week, you can kind of look at some of those other categories. So again, when you go into your main menu and you click on courses, so again, let me review one more time. You go into courses, you see the general English courses here, and then we see the career paths. So again, I know many of you are thinking, yeah, career at some point in the future. I might really recommend, looking at some of these career exploration and soft skills too. So that's kind of my final comment here this morning. So again, what I want you guys to do for next time. So we've had a chance here to meet. We've had a chance to introduce this. So what I would like to do is I'd like for you guys to practice more with the vocabulary. Okay, so that's something I want to kind of just finish up here with. I'm going to kind of come back to it here. So here's what I would like for you guys to do for next class. So try to go in and practice with the vocabulary from lesson 8. So do the words, practice the speaking, and if you have any word activities, so some of you notice if you have a computer, you can do some of the games if you want to practice with those. And of course on your phone, or it's not as many, but you can practice on your phone as well. But I would like for you guys just to review those words, because next week I think we're going to do we'll do a couple of games using the vocabulary from this lesson that we can play here kind of as we get close to the end of this lesson 8. So yeah, so for next time, try to practice some of that vocabulary from the vocabulary part. Again, I will share in the email one more time how you can find that, and try to do some of the word activities for next time.